We're live, Chair.
Thank you, Mark, and welcome, members. Welcome to this scrutiny meeting. It's good to see everyone here this evening. It does feel, first of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy New Year. It certainly does feel quite a while ago since Christmas, and it feels like a lot has happened since then. But it is the first scrutiny back, so I wanted to wish everyone all the very best for the forthcoming year, and I hope you all had a relaxing Christmas. Subs, Mark, any subs and apologies, please? Oh, Diane,
Yes,
sorry.
Chair, we have Councillor Brundell is substituting for Councillor. Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, yes,
Can you hear me all right? Okay, but Councillor Brundell for Councillor Megan Swift, and we have apologies from Councillor Thornbury. He's still at work, unfortunately.
No problem at all. Welcome to the meeting, Councillor Brundell. Okay, members' interests. Does any member have any interest on anything on the agenda? I presume not, but we must ask the question. No. Item number 3, the public are allowed. We are live on YouTube, so please do not swear. Item number 4, the minutes of the last meeting held on the 22nd of November to be agreed as a true and accurate record. Are there any comments on the minutes at all? No. In that case, can I please propose them? Do we have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Kingston there. And in that case, we'll need to do a vote, all in favour, but for this, members will have to turn on their cameras to ensure that the vote is quorate, right?
Just raise your hand, Chair. If they put the hand up, I can see.
Is that, yeah, so I'll raise mine. Members, if you'd like to raise your hand to approve the minutes of the last meeting. There we go. Is that enough, Diane, there? So we've got...
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's fine, Chair.
Well, that's passed anyway. Fantastic. Good deputations. There have been none. Item number 6, the half-year corporate performance report. Jez, welcome to the meeting. We have Happy New Year, first of all. Happy New Year to you and your team.
Yep.
We've read the report. Is there anything in addition to what's in front of us that we should know about?
No, nothing specific. Like I say, it was just really to want to point out about the changes to SKPIs that are coming in from 4.5.1 in terms of the changes that are either data not being collected by central government or changes to those SKPIs, which are listed, which will be taking effect from 24-25, so from the 1st of April, so from the new financial reporting year. And then really, I suppose to highlight that across our performance framework, nearly 60% of our 21 SKPIs, we're in the top or second quartile when measured against the SIPFA standards benchmarking group. So at the half-year point, it's quite a pleasing performance picture in the context of where we are in terms of the financial and demand challenges placed upon the council at present, but nothing else specific to raise. But happy to take any questions.
Perfect. Members, are there any questions, please? Yeah, Councillor Kingston.
It's not a question. I just wanted to comment the improved Key Stage 2 performance. As you may know, that I was a teacher. I was actually a secondary teacher, not a primary teacher, but I remember from my education degree when I was studying education that the earlier attainment, the earlier we can create improvements in attainment, the better the outcomes are later on. And it's just wonderful to see that progress there at that stage. Very, very encouraging, and well done to everybody that has created that. I think it's particularly incredible in terms of where we are, so following on so closely from the pandemic. I think that's a phenomenal achievement, in fact, in the context that we've had. So I just wanted to note that. Welcome it, really, really welcome it. Thank you.
Absolutely, I'm sure that comment's most welcome to the team. Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Chair. Like Anna, I was really glad to see some of the positive news in there, particularly around early years, some really amazing figures. My question / comment is probably a bit more around process. This is a regular report you bring to us, Jez. Sometimes you get asked the same questions over and over again. I think it's really good that this time the chair and the scrutiny officers have provided an opportunity to give you more detailed questions in advance to save us doing this, because that's often what happens. But I find that in the report, what is always most interesting to me are the exception reports, those deep dives into areas where we're overperforming, underperforming. I think that's where the real value is for us in scrutiny, is in understanding what those variances are and maybe doing deeper dives into those. I feel that that's why I take the value from out of this. So I just wondered, Jez, when you're selecting those ones that you choose to highlight, is there a particular methodology you choose? Are these the ones with the greatest variances that you've got regular and recent data for, or is there some other approach, or is it ones that you feel like you're wanting to highlight and to create a balance of good and less good news stories?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. Yeah, the methodology is chosen really by our performance officers meeting with the assistant directors and the director at the time to highlight a number of things, really. Yeah, certainly if there's variance, you know, if we're either an outlier or some significant variance, good and bad, because I think it's important to get that balance, we will identify an exception report. If there's something that's either, it may be raising up in terms of the political priorities, or the political with a small p, in terms of the priorities of the council, or if it's on a national agenda such as adults and children, social care, etc., we might highlight that. What we try and also do is we try and get an even spread across the whole reporting year, so that we are covering across all the themes and the three priorities, obviously, of the council. You know, whether it be we'll bring a crime indicator, or we'll bring an adult social care, or we'll then bring something perhaps that touches on climate change. We try and get an even spread. But those exception reports, and we try and limit them to about 4 or 5 within each one, to make it digestible, to make it give them time to get the enough detail in there, working with the service, to get that, you know, that deep dive report, albeit on a single page in an outcome based accountability approach. So there's no one set parameter. This triggers an exception report. There's a bit of a discussion with the AD as well and the director that says, actually, we want to bring this to the attention of the corporate leadership team and cabinet and scrutiny as part of this process of bringing regular quarterly reports, so half-yearly reports. So that's the sort of methodology, and it's been in situ for about 7 or 8 years now, and it's sort of worked well to give us that even spread and that broader picture of whole council activity.
Perfect. Councillor Carney.
Thanks, Chair. Probably a straightforward question I've got, but see, like in the latter pages where there's the sort of green, amber, red colouring on there. What is it that determines that? Is it our place in the, you know, like it tells you, it's got there, like where we are in the comparator group. Is it the place in the comparator group, or is it the actual score that drives the RAG rating?
Yeah, it's a RAG rating based upon the quartile placing within that comparator group. So if we're in top quartile, say, what, you know, in the places, say, ranked 1 to 4, we would be in the green. 5 to, I think it might be about 12 is sort of the amber. 13, 14, 15, 16, because it's quartile. So we'd you know, we're in a benchmarking group of about 16 other authorities, so it's where we are within the relative benchmarking group. That benchmarking group's going to change next year. SIPFA have actually updated it, so different authorities come in and out at depending upon obviously, demographic factors and population changes, etc. They're constantly refining to make sure that we are benchmarked against, appropriate statistically, equitable authorities. So yeah, it's a RAG rating based upon where we are within the ranking of the group.
So does that mean that we could, or like next year, we could look at this and think, oh, crikey, that doesn't make sense compared to last year. It'll be because it's different authorities. There might be ones drop in that's so if we say there where we're first out of 11 and a couple there, we could end up being 5th out of 16 again or something, if the that kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah, there could be some changes to the benchmarking group where we might be on the cusp of, switching between say one or the other. But we'll bring that and we'll confirm if there's a difference in the RAG rating if that's the case.
All right, so that'll be the changes to the sort of cohort of other councils that'll be written down in the report next year. Yeah.
It will, yes. Yeah, we can. I think, if you look in the table, I mean, obviously it gives you the top quartile performers in each one, but we can give at the bottom of the table the full list of the SIP for benchmarking group, for clarity.
Right, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it was been a couple of years since I've seen these figures since I was last sitting on the Strategy and Performance Board, and I sort of asked the question then, and I'm going to ask it again, and it's to do with the selection of the key performance indicators themselves. Whether to what extent are they decided upon at a not quite statutory level, but that are required for us to be able to compare ourselves to other and to compare our performance, and which ones are optional. The reason I ask this question is that if there are many optional ones, it does reflect changing priorities, and that I accept that. But it also means that they can drop off the radar when they can still be quite useful. I mean, there's no ability to still cross-refer them anyway, just in case if performance does fall off and needs attention and can be brought back for closer action or scrutiny. Bit of a vague question there, but I hope you get the general drift of what I'm trying to say.
I do, Councillor. In terms of statutory and optional, they're all effectively optional. There's nothing within our performance framework that we have to put within our corporate performance framework in order to compare against any other authority. The indicators are selected in the sense that they're approved, but in that all local authorities or many local authorities where will collect the same indicators that they can be benchmarked within the SIPFA group. They're identified and selected based upon really the three overarching priorities. So once the priorities of the council were established and set, strong thriving towns, climate action, and reducing inequalities, the task was then to identify statistically robust indicators that we ideally and obviously and other local authorities collect that reflect the work that underpins each of those priorities. And so we collect more than just a 21. We measure about against those and 19 total that sit under these, and sometimes there will be an indicator that is in the super key performance indicators. It is in a particular year, but just because in one year it's there doesn't mean to say we don't continue to collect it or report on it and report by exception. It's still within our basket of indicators that can be used to report by exception, or it could possibly even come back into the SKPI, so that we don't lose sight of anything. But we're constantly it's about trying to refine and retune the overall performance framework that actually gives you enough information on the three priorities that then allows you to dig deeper if need be. Does that answer the question?
Thank you. Just a supplementary from Chair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just slightly mindful, for example, with the problems that planning had, and yeah, they're very much managing to turn that ship around after the work of the Place Scrutiny panel over a couple of years, monitoring and having reports from them. So yeah, it's that sort of thing where if these KPIs are robust enough to be able to pick that sort of stuff up on an ongoing basis to avoid that sort of disaster scenario happening. Not just, say, for example, with planning, but in other areas. Oops.
Yeah, Jez.
Sorry, yeah, but yeah, so the planning indicators, you know, and the operational performance of, say, the planning department or any other team, those are collected, those are measured, and the performance team, we actually did a detailed report, an exception report, which was in one of our previous corporate performance reports. So even though it wasn't an SKPI, and what we try and do within the super key performance indicators is get something that is trackable over a 12-month period. Sometimes with operational indicators, they can fluctuate within 1 or 2 quarters. You know what I mean? We want something that actually shows a bit of a longer trend, but that's not to say that operational indicators, if they are, if there is quite a big variance or there is a particular issue, we won't bring those forward and put an exception report. And there has been one with planning at the time, and some of the other indicators that lead into the planning area, such as the housing, sufficiency indicator, that story around the housing sufficiency performance, we will get a report from the planning team and others that that supports the narrative around the performance of that, which hopefully also then can feed into what is happening in that team operationally.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed, Jez. Thank you.
Perfect. Councillor Brundell.
Thank you. And similar to Regan, this is the first time I've seen these in detail, having not sat on this board before. So apologies if I'm going over old ground here. I think Jez just touched on it, but looking at a couple of the indicators which are measured over a 3-month period rather than yearly, youth employment is the one that sort of caught my eye first. Is there going to be natural fluctuations in that? And it doesn't necessarily represent, a worsening trend. I'm aware that it being in red possibly makes it look worse than it is if there are those natural fluctuations throughout the year that we see year on year in statistics and measures such as that.
Yes, Councillor. Yeah, there is a fluctuation within that particular indicator, but that's been retained within the performance framework, because it tells a good story around reducing inequalities and that priority, and is also one of the areas that the Office of Local Government in Oflog are looking at, trying to highlight around youth unemployment and the issues post-pandemic and the issues around youth unemployment in the pandemic, what that caused. Those fluctuations are not massive. They will tell a story, but it's something that I think we as a council certainly have had a close eye on the impact on the pandemic, and in particular on that cohort of people. And even by retaining it with those slight fluctuations, ensures that the council has that focus and that lens, rather than it being not in there, and there is a story that over a 12-month period that we're missing, or we're not reporting as frequently and regularly as we could be doing. So it can vary, but it doesn't vary massively. But the variations, even up or down, are certainly of interest to the corporate leadership team and cabinet and scrutiny yourselves. So it's something we always want to retain and report on, just to give that narrative.
Thank you.
Councillor Dacre.
Thank you, Chair. So just following on from Councillor Dickinson's question about comparators and what we have to do you want to just say a bit more, Jez, about Oflog, which you just mentioned, and what that requires of us and what the purpose of it is, partly for members, but also for anybody who's watching? Thanks.
Yeah, of course, Councillor, no problem. Yeah, so the Office of Local Government has, in the last sort of 6-9 months, they've developed a framework, you know, not blowing our own trumpet here, but in similar ways in which what we have been measuring a number of our SKPIs for a good number of years. And they start off with a small number of indicators to try and, you know, reduce the impact on councils around waste, adult social care, finance, that's a financial sustainability of councils. And they're looking to extend the range of indicators up to about 20 areas, because they really, obviously they appreciate local authorities. Our activity is really wide ranging, and they've started off with, like I said, with 4 areas, increasing those up now. Undertook a consultation exercise over sort of just before Christmas, and I've gone back to local authorities with a range of other indicators, such a thing around like fly tipping and some of the other areas around adult education and learning, so that we get a dashboard, or the Office of Local Government produce a dashboard around local authority activity. What we're proposing to do, and what we have been doing already, is we will report our own corporate performance framework, which is in front of you within the report, and our teams are also have an eye on the off-log indicators, and we will be bringing and reporting, again by exception, but on a regular basis, reporting our performance as a council against the off-log measures. And those off-log measures, that there's information that we're happy to share in a briefing note by, through cabinet and scrutiny going forward. So the dashboard is online. It's on the government's website on gov.uk. We're also a member of LG Inform, Local Government Inform, which has a little bit more detailed reporting and better visualization, shall we say, for some of our reporting of the off-log statistics. So one will complement the other, and we will be sort of compliant with what the central government are looking at in terms of performance, but we'll also tweak it, as you can see, with our own corporate priorities, our own council priorities. But there's a fair bit of overlap, which is pleasing to see. But it's there's certainly no duplication of effort that we'll be doing. We'll be be taking that single source. Does that hopefully explain?
I hope so.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much. My question, Jez, was, I think probably we've had a few discussions about this over the past. It's important for us as scrutineers to really respect officer time, and I'm under no illusions how much effort goes into this report on your part, on your team's part, and it is quite resource intensive producing these items. And in many respects, if, for example, we want to ask you a question on a specific item tonight, for example, housing delivery, well, it's not really best aimed at you, because you're the one who's gathering the data, you're the one who's gathering everything for this report, but you're not specifically obviously involved in that department. So my question, Jez, is, first of all, how much time does it take for you to do this report? Is it quite resource intensive? Am I under the right impression when it comes to that? And my second question is, do you think there's a better way of reviewing this? So, for example, is it best in some ways if we receive the data outside of a scrutiny meeting, and then if we want to deep dive into an area, we can then deep dive into it, rather than using your time in a meeting like this? And then I'm interested in members' thoughts when it comes to that as well. Jez.
Thanks, Chair. Firstly, I appreciate your comments and your appreciation of the work that goes into the report. Like I said, I'm presenting the report, but behind me is a whole team of people, Gail Edge and her team, and the performance officers and the services themselves will contribute to this. Is it resource intensive? It's not resource intensive to the point where I think there is a better way of doing it, purely in the sense of I think the value it brings to the corporate leadership team, to cabinet, to scrutiny, to members, and also to the wider public, because all these reports are published on our DataWorks website. So every member of the public, every resident can see our performance, and I think that's right and proper, and that's how it should be. And it's digestible, it's meaningful, and it's an easy to read format. And like I said, the one-page exception reports, I certainly wouldn't want to go back to historical versions of performance reporting. And we've been commented and credited with other local authorities saying it is a good model. It's it's a written format of this report, but it's in a digital format as well. And it's definitely not something that I would want to change, because it really does work well, and it isn't an onerous task or a resource intensive task that I personally, or I think even members of my team, would want to radically change. We're obviously looking for improvements, and bringing in Offlog will hopefully add to that. In terms of scrutinizing the detail of it, you're absolutely right in that. I think possibly the best way to pick up on deep diving areas of performance would be, obviously the report themselves go to cabinet, and they are publicly available at that point, and for members and everyone else to scrutinize. If there's a mechanism for me to work with yourself as chair, or any other elected member or colleague, that once the report is done, we can, outside of scrutiny or timetable some other activity, that a separate scrutiny hosted event that does deep dive, rather than taking up the agenda of scheduled scrutiny meetings themselves. We're more than able to do that, and more than willing to do that, and to schedule representation from the service, more deep dive information from the service themselves, together with performance information from our team and other Offlog data. I think there probably is a better way of doing it than doing at the meeting itself, asking for that detailed operational and other supporting information. But I'm more than happy, again, for the purposes of highlighting the corporate performance picture and summarizing the corporate performance picture, and explaining how the indicators and how the framework itself is constructed, and changes to that framework that are going to be made in the next reporting year, or how new initiatives. I'm more than happy to come still to this scrutiny meeting and talk around that. But I think if there's a more deep dive mechanism, then perhaps there's an opportunity for us to look at how that will best serve scrutiny's needs and your needs.
I think that's a really good point, and I think that would also enable us to make better use of you and basically your team, because in many respects the data and where services are going, the data points to, it's almost supplemental to another report. It's not in many respects a report in itself, in my opinion. And if it is a report, it's certainly something that we can then take from the stuff that goes to cabinet, and then we can use that, and then we can say, like you say, this is a specific area, this is in red, let's do a deep dive offline or even online in an actual meeting, and use that data in that way. I think there might be a bit of a better way of doing it, because every year we seem to question the way we've come to the figures, but we're not actually questioning the things which stem from the figures. Mike?
Apologies for being late, Chair.
No, it's fine.
Just picking up on that point, so the other scrutiny boards in particular are doing a lot of their work in detailed reviews, and the information that Jez and team produce in this report and in the whole DataWorks set of information should be really valuable to those detailed reviews. And I wonder whether we perhaps this board might want to just consider including a comment in the minutes that we advise those detailed reviews to talk with Jez every time they set up a detailed review, and just see what's around the subject of we're doing one on knife crime, for example, in Place Scrutiny Board. We're doing some work on the emotional well-being of children in CYB Scrutiny Board. It's actually for us as scrutiny team members and officers to be more proactive about calling Jez or Gail or somebody and saying, can you pop over and talk to us about this?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if I can come in there, Chair. Yeah, I mean, because each of those deep dive reviews will have a performance element. Everything has effectively a performance element to it, doesn't it? So, and we can bring either a richness of what the existing performance picture of the council is, or where those other sources of performance information can be brought in to that particular review. I think the key point as well that just worth mentioning and backing up the point you raised in there, Chair, is the SKPIs and the performance framework of this report and of the council. These act as what we call herd indicators. It's not a technical term, but they are an indicator to signify some further detailed analysis. So even at the SKPIs, when we report this to the corporate leadership team or cabinet or whatever, the idea is that the indicator that is red in itself or green or amber is not the whole story. It's there to signify and kick off a more detailed piece of work, hence why we might get an exception report. And I think what this report can do for scrutiny is effectively that treat it as like, right, that's a herd indicator, or that's an indicator of to signify more interest required in that particular area, and then we can work with you and work with others to go in and get that detailed picture and bring it to either within scrutiny itself or outside of scrutiny as a separate offline report, but provided obviously to scrutiny.
Yeah, agreed. I think we need to have a think about how we take that forward, really. But yeah, absolutely. Please, Mike, let's put that in the minutes about detailed reviews using Jez's team to assist with the reviews. I think that's a really good point. If there's nothing else from members, I would like to thank Jez and Gail for presenting to us this evening. Thank you to Councillor Dacre as well. And I know Becky's here, so shout out to Becky as well. Good. On to the next item of the agenda, the work programme. Mike or Ben, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, Chair. All members of the Scrutiny Board will have a current copy of the work programme. Members will note that there is nothing on the work programme for March, although I am developing an item with Councillor Kearney in that regard to do with how the council engages in debt collection. But obviously there is capacity on the work programme if members have a particular topic that they would like to get on there before the end of the year. That is something that we can look at doing, particularly for March. And also I'd just like to remind members about the budget seminar on the 23rd of January, which Becky and Councillor Dacre will attend, which give all scrutiny members the opportunity to deeply scrutinise the budget proposals which are coming into Cabinet next Monday. Okay. Unless there's anything else members wish to raise with me, I have nothing else to add, Chair.
Is there any? Shall we go into a bit of detail on how the budget process is going to work this year, Ben?
We can do, Chair. So the proposal, as you'll be aware, that we've had a seminar where we generated questions that we thought might be useful to raise generic questions that we thought might be sensible to raise with Becky and Councillor Dacre when they attend on the 23rd. Once we have the budget proposals from Cabinet on Monday, they will be circulated to all members, and then members can consider how to apply some of the generic questions that they have generated and how those might become more specific questions, which then give us a 2-hour session for all the scrutiny members of all scrutiny boards to ask detailed questions of Becky and Councillor Dacre. And also, having seen the budget proposals, if members would like other specific officers to attend, then obviously if they let us know, we can try and arrange that. And then that seminar will produce a report which will come into the next Strategy and Performance Scrutiny Board to be considered in detail by the Strategy and Performance Board, with a view to the board potentially making recommendations to go forward to Cabinet and to full council following Cabinet.
Perfect. Are there any queries from members about that process? I just want to make sure that I suspect, Ben, that if members can't attend that meeting, there will be an ability for them to ask questions outside of the meeting right there and feed in their etc.
Absolutely, as I've already indicated in emails that have been sent around to scrutiny members, we're having an informal meeting of chairs and deputies next week, so members would have the opportunity to feed into questions to the chairs and deputies meeting for chairs and deputies to consider how to take them forward and to develop them. And also, if members can't attend on the 23rd and they have questions that they specifically want put to Becky or Councillor Dacre or any other relevant officer, we'll pass them directly on to the chair of that meeting on the 23rd to make sure that they are asked.
Perfect. Good, thank you, Ben. Any questions there? Any further comments at all? No, in that case, it's a record. It's a record time. I want to thank everyone for attending the meeting. It's been a swift one, but a good one. So thank you very much, and I'll see you shortly whenever I see you next.
Yeah,
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone. Everyone.
Good night.